There's a phrase that goes, there's no such thing as bad weather, just inappropriate clothing. And to an extent, this is true when we're out cycling, but it's kind of not true as well, and it annoys me in some ways. I want to get into that in this video. So this video is about social inequality, and if you don't like that kind of thing annoys you, then I'd probably go switch to a different video, because this whole video is about that, and there's no point in us getting into an argument. But if you do want to stay with me and find out, then great, let's talk about it. So the problem with this idea that there's no such thing as bad weather, you just need better clothing, is that really appropriate clothing is super expensive. And if you look at both triathlon and the pro peloton, there's a real lack of diversity there. It's predominantly made up of people like me, of rich white men. And it's kind of no wonder when we're saying things like, well, you just need better kit, because better kit is really expensive. And I'll show you an example. So let's go through my kit. And I can go out in the rain and the cold, but one of the reasons is that I have a load of expensive kit. So let's start at the bottom and work up. I've got these are Rapha wool winter socks. So I'll put those on, and then over the top of those, I put these, got review videos for most of these, by the way. These are my Mavic winter boots. So super warm and snug. Got like a bunch of different layers, and then this kind of waterproof layer over the top. So I've got my wool socks, I put my boots over the top. And then on top of these, again, I've got reviews of these. I've got my Spats overshoes, which go all the way up the calf, and these will sit over the top of the boots. So by this point I've got 3 layers and a bunch of layers of waterproofing to keep my legs really nice and warm. Then so on top of that, obviously I've got my cycling shorts. These are my Pactimo shorts, and I put over them is I've got these leg warmers from Castelli. They're nice fleece lined, keep my legs nice and warm. And then coming up, so I probably wear my chapter 3 base layer, which will do nicely. So that would be the bottom layer on my top half to keep me warm. And then I'd put my Castelli Gabba foul weather cycling clothing, the Gabba, the legend, put that over the top. And then to keep my arms on, stick some arm warmers over the top, because this is a short sleeve jersey and obviously I'm wearing a long sleeve base layer there. So I'd have all of that on. And then if that's not enough, what else would I have? I've got a bunch of different gloves, including these lobster claws from seal skins that again, water resistant and really nice and warm, because it's like a half mitten thing. Put that on there. And then I might, over the top of my base layer and my Gabba, I might wear my rain cape. So this is the Gore C5 Shakedry, super thin, packable, but 100% waterproof, sticking. So now I've got 3 layers on the top of that. I've got my gloves on, and then moving up again to keep my head nice and warm, I've got this Lusso insulated cap, again fleece lining, and to keep the water out of my eyes, I've got these photochromatic lenses. These are the Stolen Goat sunglasses, and they go to clear, so that if I'm cycling in the rain, they will keep the water out of my eyes and I can still see everything. So that's a ton of stuff, right? Let's go add all of that stuff up. Let's price up this outfit then, and I'll keep a running total. I've tried to use the prices that I paid, because I try and get stuff in the sales, and I bought some of this stuff years ago when prices were cheaper, so it might be less than it would cost today, but hopefully an accurate reflection. Starting off with the socks then, £20 just for a pair of socks. Sounds incredible to me as a Yorkshireman, but they are very warm. And then the shoes, these were expensive shoes. Totally, they're amazing shoes. I totally recommend them. They keep my feet very warm. But again, like, we're still on footwear here, and we still need to add my overshoes, which again, very expensive. In fact, they're even more expensive now. That picture is the Roadman 2, which I think is up to 85, but I got the slightly cheaper but still very expensive overshoes. So all I've done so far is keep my feet warm, and we're at 240. Then above that, I've got my Castelli Nanoflex leg warmers and my Pactimo Vector shorts, which I think are Pactimo's cheaper shorts. They do more expensive thermal shorts. We've got, then moving on to my top layer, so I've got my Chapter 3 base layer, which again I bought in the sale, although I think Chapter 3 have some cheaper stuff now. And then over the top of that, I will put my Castelli Gabba. Now I know I got that in the sale, that was like half price, so you would normally paying a lot more for a Gabba. Then I just use my standard club arm warmers, so they could be more expensive if I got more insulated ones, but I found those are fine. But then another piece of expensive kit goes over the top, so protect me from the rain. I use my Gore C5 rain cape, which is 100% waterproof, super light and packable, as we'll talk about in the video, but super expensive as well. Then to keep my hands warm, I've got a bunch of gloves, but the ones I use a lot in the winter in the really cold are these sealskin split finger gloves, or lobster claws as they're sometimes known. And so now we're up to 800, and moving up again, we've got my sunglasses. So these are photochromatic, so they're great in the rain or when it's cloudy because they go clear, and then if the sun does come out they get darker. So I might also wear like a buff, or I've got a Lusso hat. I haven't even included those in the total, and we've already got to £875. I know not everyone is in the UK, so some translation of that is that's over €1,000. That's 1,650 Australian dollars, or 1,200 US dollars. So a huge amount of money. Okay, so I've obviously spent a huge amount on cycling clothing, which means that it is kind of true that there isn't bad weather. I just need to put all of my appropriate clothing on. But who can afford all of that? Now, you might say, okay, well, Chris, you've just bought a load of stupid stuff there. Like, you don't need all this expensive stuff. You can get reasonably priced stuff, and that will be just as good. But it isn't just as good. And trust me, I know, I'm a Yorkshireman. We're famous for not wanting to spend a lot of money. And so I've very much tried the cheaper gear. So my first cycling jacket is this, still got it. It was an Aldi special buy. I imagine a lot of people will be familiar with Aldi. They're a discount supermarket across Europe, and they sell all kinds of crazy stuff. And once a year they have this big cycling sale. I've got 2 of their cycling jackets, incredibly affordable. It was like £20 for this high-vis waterproof. It's got all these multi-layers and lovely pockets. Cycling jacket, but it's so big that you just can't do anything with it. And you just end up really, as soon as it warms up a bit, then you have to unzip it because otherwise you're melting. So then I switched on to this. I got this. I needed something light and packable, so I got this. This is the Endura rain cape. I've got a review of this somewhere on my channel as well. Again, very nice, super packable. Obviously scrunches right down, but not very breathable. And this was kind of the midpoint. I think this was like £20. This was like £70. But I got this for 45 because I got it in this snot green colour, and everyone else was paying 70 to get it in either black or white to match their kit. I got the snot green, saved myself £25 there. So I am worried about money, but this just isn't breathable. And then I got this, and it's just incredible, the Gore Shakedry. Like, this thing, it's not super breathable, and it eventually does soak through. This doesn't, but this is super expensive. This is the high-end Gore Shakedry, and so this just isn't the same as this, and this certainly isn't the same as this. And so you absolutely can start in the lower range stuff, but with cycling it's not all about fancy brand names. You actually do get better quality. I'm not saying some of it isn't in the brand name, but you can't get something as good as a Gore Shakedry. There is nothing else that competes with it. Similarly with the overshoes, I didn't start with the super expensive Carfi Spats ones. I think I started with some Louis Garneau ones. They broke straight away. Then I got some DHB, I think they were called the Ultra Tough overshoes, and they just didn't cut it compared to how warm these are the Spats Roadman. They're extra thick ones that Spats do, because I thought the regular Spats ones weren't going to keep me warm enough. And again, these do the job. And similarly, like these Mavic boots were really expensive, but they actually do the job in a way that my old shoes didn't. So you absolutely can get cheaper versions of stuff, but it just isn't as good. Like in this, I just ended up sweating and ended up getting cold because there would just be so much sweat, and then the sweat would cool down, and there's nothing you can do about that, and it just doesn't compete with the higher end gear. So is it true that there is no such thing as bad weather, just inappropriate clothing? Well, it is, but I think we should take a moment to appreciate, for those of us that have all this high-end gear, just how lucky we are to be able to afford the super expensive, super breathable, super waterproof, super aero clothing, because a lot of people can't. And when we're talking about getting people into cycling, it's no wonder that some people struggle to get into it, because I have hundreds and hundreds of pounds of gear here, and the cheaper stuff just isn't as good. I've tried it and it isn't as good. That's not to say some of the money in the high-end stuff isn't because of the brand, it is, but it's also because you just get higher quality stuff. And if you want to go out and spend 8 hours on a bike in the rain and the cold, then it's going to be very hard if you're in that lower end stuff. So one of the little things I'll be putting in my gratitude journal, I guess, is having all of these high-end things, and worth remembering that when we're chastising people for not going out in the cold and the rain, maybe they just can't afford gear that's as good as we can. And if we want cycling to be a more inclusive sport, then we should remember that. So hopefully you've enjoyed my little equality rant there. If so, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you like cycling and triathlon, then hit the subscribe button, because that's what my channel is all about, and I would love to see you in another video.